Hello, hello, hello. It is Thursday, September 25th. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to have on author Alexandra Hudson. She wrote the book, The Soul of Civility. Very timely indeed. She wrote this 2 years ago, but it is getting a lot of renewed attention in our current environment. Hello to everybody watching live on Substack and also on our YouTube page, 24site.news. You can find us every day here at noon. If you don't get the email, look for it every day after the show. Sign up at 24site.news. Recap everything. And you can also catch us live on Political Voices Network at 8 p.m. every night. All right. And thank you for being here. No questions or comments today. Ian Walters is out being an excellent father, taking care of a lot. And very happy again. If you missed us earlier this week, baby number 5 for the Walters family. Congrats, guys. All right. So let's get to our news here. First up, latest on Jimmy Kimmel. Let's take a look at, let's give a listen to what we had from Jimmy Kimmel last night.
You can't believe they gave me my job back. I can't believe we gave you your job back. Or even. And there's more. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. No, they weren't. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. That I can't argue with. Shut the up. The freedom of speech is only for me. I do not interrupt the president. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? Who puts the network in jeopardy? You hear that? There's the threat again. This time straight from FCC Biscuit's mouth. He goes, he says, I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Only Donald Trump would try to prove he wasn't threatening ABC by threatening ABC.
This is so true, guys. Look, as I mentioned yesterday, really all week, and you have to be ready for this. We talked about this with Charlie Sykes last week. I was talking about this yesterday with Thom Hartmann on the program. This is a never-ending battle for free speech as long as Trump is in office, and they're making that clear because, look, on the one hand, last week, Brendan Carr went out there and made a threat. Clearly, it was a threat. Say that they could do this, quote, the easy way or the hard way. All right. And then he comes out and says, again, and this is very classic Trump world tactics, says, oh, well, that wasn't a threat. That's not the way it should be interpreted. But then says in a number of podcasts, according to reports from folks like Brian Stelter at CNN, other longtime media reporters, says, oh, well, now we're going to go after The View on ABC. So this is continuing, as we just heard here from Kimmel last night. And check out those numbers too, by the way, 4 million, just incredible numbers still through the roof. So this is an ongoing thing. Keep it here, folks. We'll be covering it regularly. That is our First Amendment, and it is our First Amendment right. All right, next up, Trump is going to be trying to get Comey here before statute of limitations runs out on getting him for allegedly perjuring himself before Congress with regards to, I'll tell you, this never ends, the 2016 election. I've been covering the 2016 election for a decade now. It seems I will be covering it for forever. Here's the latest from the New York Times. Glenn Thrush and Maggie Haberman, legendary team. U.S. attorney races to present case against James Comey. It remains to be seen whether a career prosecutor would be willing to present a case to a grand jury, whether jurors would bring an indictment. This follows on the scoop yesterday on this from Ken Delanian and Carol Leonnig at MSNBC that they would be going after Comey. President Trump's handpicked federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia, the former FBI, is racing to present a case against James Comey, the former FBI director, to a grand jury before a deadline early next week, according to officials familiar with the situation. Lindsay Halligan, former defense lawyer for Mr. Trump, who was hastily appointed after the president forced out her predecessor last week, is rushing to draft an indictment under withering pressure from the White House. The president has demanded the department go after one of his foremost enemies, even though career prosecutors determined there was insufficient evidence to indict Mr. Comey. Keep an eye on this, folks. This is developing throughout the day. We'll have updates on 24site.news as we go. All right. Let's just take a quick look here. Make sure we're good to go. Okay, so next up, we have an update here. Some very excellent reporting from Ken Klippenstein over on Substack, home of 24site news, I might add. You should, after you sign up for 24site.news, make sure you sign up for Ken Klippenstein's excellent newsletter. He has this on the ICE shooters politics. So Ken Klippenstein, share this. Here we go. Ken Klippenstein spoke with longtime friends of Joshua Johns and heard from them on who exactly this guy is. The deadly sniper attack, Klippenstein reports, the deadly sniper attack on a Dallas ICE facility this morning seems straightforward with, quote, anti-ICE engraved on unspent shell casings recovered from the scene, per the FBI. But after interviewing several of the alleged shooter's former friends, the picture isn't so clear. All right, and it goes on to show what Kash Patel said, what President Trump said, blaming the, quote, radical left, which I would note is not new. They've been saying this for months in regards to anything that happens, really. J.D. Vance, the same thing. Let's get to the original reporting here, which I think is very fascinating. Here is, and again, Klippenstein, this is a routine with a good source reporting, protects the identities of these folks because obviously they're worried about what might be directed at them online. All right, that makes complete sense to me. All right, so, quote, he was most certainly an edgelord, an irony guy, one Fred said. Edgelord is online speak for someone who likes to espouse, quote, edgy, nihilistic views. For folks familiar with this, and if you want to learn more, you might check out what being, quote, black-pilled is online. So look for that. There's been some very good reporting around that in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder. Asked about the inscription on the bullet, the friend said, quote, Josh was an edgelord, one who wanted someone to get blamed. I think he tried his best to write something goofy to rile people up. Another friend shared a Facebook post describing how John flooded his friends' comment sections with rape jokes. Quote, playful shock humor, the friend said. John's profile on the gaming platform Steam showed the vast amounts of time he spent playing video games, particularly shooters, more than 6,000 hours on Rust, 3,000 on Team Fortress 2, and 1,000 on Left 4 Dead 2. I mean, look, we're still learning a lot. I want to tell you, this is what I said yesterday regarding this. Don't jump. We cannot get out ahead of the reporting on this. All right. Now, clearly, the politicians, the president of the United States, the FBI director himself, a political appointee, are racing to define this narrative. But we just don't know yet. We are learning a lot. I want to give a big shout out here to Ken Klippenstein for showing up, for helping out here. Let me just make sure that here is link to the show. Coming up in a second here, we're going to have on Alexandra Hudson. Let's make sure she wrote The Soul of Civility. Let's play this right here. Catch it on the ticker. Lexi Hudson resides in Indianapolis, one of my favorite towns, of course, and wrote this a number of years ago. And I'll tell you, after the Kirk shooting, even before the Kirk shooting. Really important stuff to that we're getting to here. Hold on. As we wait for Lexi, I'll just note again, please sign up for 24site.news. We do Tom LoBianco Reports every day here live on Substack and YouTube at noon. And tune in. You can also check us out on Political Voices Network, 8 p.m. Every night. I do stop by and live in the comments. So if you got questions for me, you can hit me up there. Reminder that no comments during the live show today at noon. Ian Walters is out, and we'll be back soon. He is on paternity leave. We support families here at Thom LoBianco Reports. Clearly, which is an easy thing to do. We're pretty low maintenance operation. We are not the Joe Rogan podcast, at least not yet. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to sign up for the newsletter at 24site.news. That's number 24SIGHT.news. And you can make sure to see that every day. I will note, and a big thanks, of course, too, as we wait for Lexi to get here. A big thanks to Thom Hartmann yesterday. I really enjoyed talking with him. Legendary progressive talk show host. You don't see, I'll tell you, in the world of talk radio. I grew up on talk radio of all stripes, long before it just became dominated by the right. He is one of the few prominent and successful voices on the left on there. And if you haven't seen him yet, check that out. You can catch that on the YouTube page. We talked about his most recent book, The Last American President, which does a very nice summation of what we are going through right now, and specifically the institutional rot that we have been seeing in the country, which eroded the guardrails of democracy to such a point that we have Trump in office, really using the power of the office for himself. So please do check that out. Big thanks to Thom Hartmann. And tomorrow on the show, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be running long on the show. We'll be talking with Shasti Conrad, who is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. She is also the chair of the Asian American Pacific Islanders Caucus. A lot of experience in that world and understanding the movements and sentiments of AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander demographics, voting demographics. And I'll remind you that if you paid attention to the election last year, you looked at those maps that we had with the arrows pointing, showing movement of voters and voter sentiments. One of the ones that really gets missed the most is the Asian American folks who, with their voter sentiment, certainly in places like Virginia and New Jersey, which, as it turns out, have pretty big elections coming up in just under 2 months now. I mean, not even a month. And I would note early voting is already underway, at least in Virginia. I need to check in on New Jersey. So Shasti Conrad will be joining us tomorrow. Looking forward to that. If you have anything you'd like to see us cover, and if you have anything that you think would be good for the show, drop a line. You can just reply to the email. All right, I'll see that. You can also email me at tom@24site.news. It's TOM@24site.news. I'll see that. We're planning out next week's shows right now, and want to get stuff that you guys enjoy. All right, so look, I try to bring on folks who are good and helpful and have useful advice for us. All right. This is not Twitter. This is not, the crazy places, right? This is reporting. This is why we do that. And I would note, with that in mind, I would like to introduce Lexi Hudson.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much for being here. So folks, please do check out. Now check this out. I actually worked my own graphics today. Dut, 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 dut. Boom.
Wow, that's
What's
impressive.
up?
Man of many talents.
Guys, if you haven't already, check out it's Alexandra O. Hudson. We call her Lexi. You call her Lexi too, but Lexi's book, Alexandra O. Hudson. There are a lot of Alexandra Hudsons out there. I was surprised by this. The Soul of Civility. And just really an important read, a thoughtful read at a time when so many people are not thoughtful. So, Lexi, why did you decide to write about this? Because you wrote it published 2 years ago, but I feel like it's even more relevant now than when it published.
That's certainly how it feels. And what I learned while writing this book is that this is not a new problem, this challenge of civility. It's not an America problem. It's not a Donald Trump problem, but this is actually a timeless human problem. And it emerges from a part of the human personality that we all share and we always have. And I wrote this book because I lived in Washington, D.C. I was in the swamp, and I felt personally, viscerally, the division, the dehumanization. I saw it, I observed it, I witnessed it, I experienced it. And I didn't feel a part of the solution in government, and I yearned to be. And so I fled DC. I came home one day and said to my husband, I'm done with toxic politics. I'm done with the swamp. Let's move to Indiana, I said. And he's from here originally.
Okay.
And now we've been here 7 years. He said, okay, sounds good. We'll move to Indiana. No take backs. And 7 years later, here we are. And it's been such a wonderful place to raise a family, to call home. We saw the virtue of small town life before the pandemic, before everyone else, fled the big cities. So.
and for folks, I used to work out in Indianapolis, and if you are in DC now, granted, I am in DC right now, and I'm from around here, but I think a lot of coastals play it down, all right, and they don't appreciate what's out there. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more fun. It's also a lot more. There's a lot more weirdness and wackiness. I always found that out. Indy it did give us Kurt Vonnegut, so there is a very interesting novelty streak in the Midwest. It's not flashy, but super interesting.
Exactly. It's Indiana has taught me a lot. It's given me a lot. One thing it has taught me and given me is a lesson in community, and really a handbook for how to heal society. And it starts with the front porch. The front porch is the metaphor that I use throughout my book. It's very much emblematic of my theory of social change. Like, we can't change the world, but we can change ourselves. So after having that disheartening experience in Washington, D.C., I moved to Indiana with my husband. And one day a woman came up to me after church and she said, "Hi, I'm Joanna. Would you like to porch with us sometime?" And I never heard the word porch used as a verb before, but I was curious and didn't know many people in town. So we went to her porch that day, and I realized this quiet, subversive revolution happening right on the front porches of Indianapolis, on that porch that day. She had curated people across race, politics, class, geography, these things that increasingly divide us. And we didn't have, these formal, structured conversations across difference. We're just people. We were just human beings in a shared space, able to it was a kind of a breath of fresh air. It was an oasis from the divisions and these identity markers that the world wants us to assign our value to. Yeah. And I've seen people across the country doing the same. Whether or not they have front porches, they have front docks, they have their front stoops, front lawn. Yeah. It's people saying, again, I can't change the world, but I'm going to change myself, and I'm going to make my community better, stronger, and more beautiful.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like that was one of the lessons after 2024, which, this is, so typical, politics and the news cycle is we'll talk about things for a week or two and then just completely forget them. But that was to me at least, was one of the big lessons, that to unplug, put down your phone. I mean, this is the same lesson that Spencer Cox and other very thoughtful folks were saying immediately after the Charlie Kirk shooting, which is, guys, We're humans. Let's connect on a human level.
Yes.
Get away from our phones. All right. Let's sit down, hang out, be together.
Yes. Exactly.
So Lexi, this is very interesting. I enjoyed the opening of your book. You talk about so there is, in the world of manners, there is a long line of Judas. All right. Of course, there's and of course there is the very famous Miss Manners. All right. But then it's your mom. Tell us about your mom. What's her background?
Yes, my mom is called Judy the Manners Lady, and she's an entrepreneur, a children's entertainer. She has a children's album. She 17 original songs about respect and kindness, and I sing 2 songs on her album. And so she's built this empire, this children's empire, teaching manners. But when I started writing this book, so I'd always known my mom was Judy the Manners Lady, but it wasn't until I wrote this book that I realized that she's not the only Judy the Manners Lady. There are, in fact, 4 of them. It's so funny. There's Judith Martin, the Washington Post columnist. There is another Judith and 2 other Judiths in Boston, actually, Judith Bowman and Judith Ray. And funnily enough, all these Judiths have a tie to Boston. Miss Manners also had a tie to Boston. My mom, my family, and we.
Interesting.
So anyway, I think my working theory is that this was a Judy Garland was kind of iconic when these women, when their mothers had children, and so they're kind of inspired by the icon of the day, Judy Garland from The Wizard of Oz. So that's my working theory. So my mom is, just one of these Judiths, but my favorite of these Judiths, and she is unbelievably gracious and kind and hospitable. She taught my brothers and I the ways and means of politeness, how to salute people, how to shake hands. And I always rebelled. I hated rules. I still do. I hated being told what to do. And so
oh my God.
I would tell her, ask why, why do we do things the way we do them? You asked why I wrote this book. It's really the outpouring of a lifelong inquiry into these questions of our social norms. And, why do we do things the way that we do them? And so I never was quite satisfied with her answers. Her answers were often along the lines of, this is just the way we do it. Just do it. And in my mind, I'm like, and as I grew older, I realized, how we do things is not how everyone does them. Some cultures don't eat with forks, they eat with their hands or chopsticks. Some cultures don't greet with eye contact and a handshake, but they greet with a bow and deferred eye contact. That respect, expressions of respect differ from across time and across place. So I hungered for, this is the timeless question of philosophy, the universal and the particular. What is universally true in all times and places? And what is culturally contingent? What is particularly true at a particular time or place? So I and my father, he's a philosopher and would read to us about Plato's theory of the forms at night, and just this hunger for inquiry into the nature of the good life. What does the good life with others look like? And what are the norms and practices that give us, that foster this thing called life together with others?
How can we, it's said that, we do this repetitively to build the habits, to build, good habits. All right. So what are some good habits? What is the muscle of this? How do we train our civility muscle? What are some basic things that we can do?
It's such a great question. And I love that you analogized it to a muscle, because I do that all the time. And I do actually pinpoint the pandemic and months upon months of lockdown and of being alone as atrophying that social muscle. So when you're with others, you're just kind of trained intuitively, neurologically, to be attuned to what other people are doing, how they're feeling, what they're thinking. And for a long time, we didn't have to do that. I could be on a Zoom call with you, but be in my pajamas. Yeah. Or some people, didn't wear clothes at all on Zoom call. They had makeup on, but then they're still just in their bathrobe. Or remember, this is totally unrelated, but remember that courtroom proceeding and one of the advocates turned into a cat. Like, if you have filters, you don't need to, wear clothes at all. So remember, he's like, I am not a cat. I promise, I can't fix it. I'm just not. It was so funny. Anyway, I do think the pandemic, it atrophied that muscle. Like I call civility the art of human flourishing. It's the bare minimum of respect that we are owed to others by virtue of our shared dignity, our shared humanity. It is more than mere politeness. Politeness is manners, etiquette, it's technique, it's what we do, it's what we say. Where civility is internal. It's a disposition of the heart. It's a way of seeing others as our moral equals, worthy of a bare minimum of respect, just by virtue of our shared moral status. And civility is surrendering our ego, what we want in a moment, for the sake of others. It's considering the needs of well-being and well-being of others alongside of ourselves. And that atrophied, that habit of considering others alongside of ourselves atrophied. And there are, there's been research on this. There are people, anecdotally, you hear people like decrying office cultures now. They're like, these slobs, they're leaving garbage in the sink and they're dirty dishes and they're expecting other people to clean them up. Like, you're not at home anymore. This is society.
Yeah.
And we're out of practice. We're out of habit of thinking about others. And that is making it harder. We're already less inclined to do things together for lots of reasons, but also because, we have Netflix, we have groceries and Grubhub delivering our food to us. Like, why would we go out when everything can come to us and it's perfectly curated? But I analogize it like going to the gym, like to your excellent analogy of the muscle, right? We never regret going to the gym, but often it's hard to get there. It's hard to just do it. We never regret a time with others. But I feel I'm the same way. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm so exhausted from life and kids. Like, do I really have to go to that event or see that person? But I never regret it. Like, people are the best and the worst. But Blaise Pascal, my favorite philosopher, he said that the human condition is defined by the greatness and wretchedness of man. Greatness and wretchedness, both and. Wow. And that is certainly true, when it comes to the mundane things of life. Like, life together is beautiful. It's the good life. But people are so annoying and they're so selfish too.
I do wonder about this because, it also seems like I think about this with the younger generation, folks who, spent so many of their seminal years living in lockdown, whether it's my own daughter, who's still in elementary school, or folks in college right now, who didn't get to have a high school graduation, right? Didn't get to have these pivotal moments in their development. It almost seems like we need to approach this with some grace and understanding that, hey, it's going to take a little time, right, to build back this to a point where we're doing the basics, like not leaving the office, a kitchen, a complete dump.
Yes, it's such a good point, and it reminds me of one of my favorite thinkers, intellectuals in history. Also happens to be a civility writer that I mentioned in my book. His name is Erasmus of Rotterdam. He's virtually unknown today, but in his day, he was an intellectual superstar. He was a kind of peripatetic scholar. He left his home of Rotterdam when he was very young and just basically spent the rest of his life traveling from court to court, kingdom to kingdom. And he he tutored. He was the most coveted dinner guest in all of Europe, and he tutored princes and princesses and aristocrats. He was just a genius, superstar, and again, virtually unknown. The story goes that one day he was unknown today, rather. The story goes that one day he was walking in the street, and a youth paid Erasmus insufficient deference. And so Erasmus said, that's it. Society's going to hell in a handbasket, and I'm going to do something about it. So he wrote this handbook on manners for children that was an immediate runaway bestseller. This is during the Renaissance. There's like an uptake, increased interest in classical literature and ways of life, and this notion of citizenship and gravitas, dignitas. And so there was an interest in controlling our behavior and decorum in a new way. So it basically was a bestseller for several centuries. It went into dozens of editions. And this is like at the dawn of the printing press as well. And this book, it's the only etiquette book that I know categorized by body part. So there's a chapter on the proper, behavior of the nose and how to conduct the nose, chapter on the hands, chapter on the eyes. So for example, in the chapter on the eyes, Erasmus has a puzzlingly strong stance against winking, for example. He says, never wink, just don't do it. It is the purview of a mythological animal or a tuna fish. That's what Erasmus says. And so there are lots of fun, hysterical anecdotes that have like really stood the test of time. But the best one is my favorite. It gets to your comment on grace. He says, because he says the wellspring, he ends his book on manners for children. He says the wellspring of true civility can really be said in this aphorism. He says, readily ignore the faults of others and avoid falling short yourself. And I love that because it totally inverts what our souls do by default, which is blame. Our default is to point fingers. Our default is to, complain about what other people are not doing or should be doing. And he inverts that. He says, no, just focus on you. Focus on what you can control. Ignore, show grace to others, and you do better yourself. And I think that is such a word that we need in our current moment.
Yeah, I think about this often in terms of, I've been covering politics for years, and, inherently a combative thing. All right. It's always been that way, but, even more so. But in this moment in particular, where it has really gone off the rails, and this is when I talk about with my friends, I talk about this with my own daughter. Certainly, as we face these questions, is that leadership is up to us. All right, we lead by example, and I love this. I love that. Well, I love that you're getting the exposure that we need right now in this country, right? The same way that we could spend all the time harping on the insanity of other people, I
Yes.
think we just spend as much energy learning, hey, how do we be good? How do we get better? How do we appeal to all of our better angels?
Yeah. Exactly. It's such a great point. And it starts with that recognition, which I hope my book enhances for people, that we have way more power to be a part of the solution than we realize. My book has become a handbook for many leaders. It's being read as a bipartisan book club in state legislatures. It's being read at judicial retreats in our courts. It is being converted into curriculum for teachers in the classroom. I've just been so encouraged by all of these, I call them my champions of civility, of these ideals across the country, across the world. And I'm so excited that we are gathering many of them in Carmel this weekend. Carmel, Indiana has been one of these regions that has just so embraced my book and ideas. They started a whole nonprofit. A city councilor, Jeff Worrell, there started a whole nonprofit inspired by the ideas of my book, called Project Civility. And, he's fundraised hundreds of thousands of dollars and gathered people. We have gathered people. That starts tomorrow evening. Mitch Daniels and I will be in dialogue about political violence and leadership and civility. And that kicks off the Eating Friday. And then we have the next day an unconference. We have local mayors there. We have elected officials there. We have, people from across, journalists there. And we're going to be having these unstructured conversations. What do we do now? What's working in Denver? Can that be transplanted in Orlando? And what can we do right now, like as soon as we leave, and how can we just leave with a sense of community and a sense of efficacy that we can do this? So this is, on one hand, this is a timeless problem. It's not going away. No policy, no person, no leader, no regulatory, levers are going to fix this challenge with incivility and dehumanization that we are living amidst right now. But there are things we can do to mitigate it. And we have to. That's our duty as citizens in this country.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of folks, we have a national audience, but certainly a lot of Hoosier friends. So, folks, if you are living in the Hoosier land, this sounds like a good one. And I did cover Mitch Daniels in the last 2 years of his governorship many years ago. I'll tell you, he was one of the most interesting politicians to cover. That guy, his brain is off the charts.
He's the best, and he's so gracious and so kind, and he cares a lot about this topic. Especially in light of the political violence we've seen in recent months and recent weeks with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Someone doing what I do around my age with kids my age, doing what I do a lot. I speak a lot to universities, and maybe he was a little bit more of a flamethrower than I was, but that's not the point. This idea that you could be gunned down in broad daylight for expressing your viewpoints, and viewpoints that many millions of people in this country share. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. It's unacceptable. And I hope that this is a wake-up call that we need to rehumanize our public life, not demonize people because they hold a view that we think is controversial or that hurts our feelings, to see people in the fullness of who they are. He was a husband, he was a father, he was a friend. He wasn't just, the sum total of his hot takes and controversial views, or, owning of the list online, as the kids these days say on TikTok,
How would you recommend to handle something like this? Because, clearly we can't look to the White House for this, because we already know how they handle things, and I won't get into all of the specifics of how the president has said this, but it's up to us, right? Let's say you're at Thanksgiving or family Halloween, whatever, hanging out with folks, and you got folks on opposite sides. All right, how do you handle this, or if people finger pointing at each other?
It's true. First of all, Tom, of course, read my book, buy my book, read it, gift it to a friend. I just created a free reading guide that, it can either foster your own personal reflection and reading as you go through the book, or grab a few friends and read it together, or start a book club. I just was contacted by a state representative and who said, I am a Democrat, but I am very worried for our country, and I want to lead this initiative. Me and my colleagues reading this book together, and that's all it takes. You don't have to. The watershed moments in life aren't grand gestures and grand speeches and declarations. That it's the small things, the small conversations, how we live day in and day out. And so we can all be heroes in the everyday. I love how Pope Francis, phrased it once, calling us to be part of artisans of the common good, that we can leave beauty and charity and grace. There's this great word in French, perfumery. It's called lissage. It's such a beautiful word, lissage. And it's this idea, it's like the wake of a scent. If someone walks into a room, walks out of the room, they might be gone, but you still smell a beautiful smell. That's lissage, like the trail of the scent. And like, what is our lissage? Like when we leave a room, when we leave a place, are we leaving it more beautiful, or are we leaving it worse? Are we leaving people lesser for that?
Oh, right on. Yes, I love that. That is so good. Yes, lissage. I love that. There's, man, I should make a segment called that. Maybe I'll make that the closing segment for the show. Walk away with one good thing out of this, and carry it out into the world. Lexi, so you also write a Substack. I noted this in the show notes, which I sent around. I'll link that in the email. It's Civic Renaissance. Is that correct?
That's correct. Civic Renaissance. It's my newsletter and intellectual community dedicated to beauty, goodness, and truth, and reviving the wisdom of the past to help us lead better lives now.
Nice. And at what time is the thing? It's tomorrow in Carmel?
It's tomorrow. Get your tickets. They're on Eventbrite. We have a few tickets left. So if you want to join us and you're in Indiana or want to fly in for it, it's called the Project Civility Summit, 2025 Summit. And so we'd love to have you there. If you care about this topic, if you want to be equipped with tools to bring back to your workplace, to your school, to your home, to your community. If you want to build a community of people like you across the country who care about this, about healing our deep divisions, then please do join us.
Awesome. Lexi, thank you so much for being here. Guys, Alexandra Hudson, pick up her book. It's called The Soul of Civility. You can find it everywhere. Sign up Civic Renaissance online on Substack, my favorite social media platform. Sorry, YouTube, you're getting there. Okay. I love you both, but Substack especially. All right. Sign up, get there. And if you're in the Hoosier land, head on up to Carmel.
Please do.
Yeah. Lexi, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure to be with you.
See ya. Hey guys, that's Alexandra Hudson. Hudson. Apparently, there are many Alexandra Hudsons out there. She's Alexandra Hudson, author of The Soul of Civility. And of course, I am Tom LoBianco, host right here of Tom LoBianco Reports. If you are not already, make sure to sign up at 24site.news. I'll be sending around the show and some notes, links, top headlines, and whatnot after the show today. And tomorrow on the show, as I mentioned earlier, tomorrow coming up, we're going to have on Democratic National Committee Vice Chair Shasti Conrad, and Shasti is the chair of the head of the AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus. She's done a lot of work with that community, and we're going to be talking about what the voter sentiments are heading into these off-year elections. Right? I really don't think the traditional term is off-year election. I really don't think that's even a thing anymore. I mean, we have these insane redistrictings going on right now. Love or hate it, where we are right now in this country is that politics is omnipresent. So very important to understand what's happening, especially going into the races in Virginia and New Jersey. Before I head out, I want to say a big thanks to everyone. All right, let's start with Big Papa Ian Walters. All right, he'll be back soon. And Karn, love you guys. So good. Baby number 5, get him. Big thanks to you guys for being here with me. Love seeing you every day. If you got comments, I'm not doing the live comments today. It's just, one of the big things is that with the internet, with broadband and whatnot, streaming takes a lot out of you, right? Out of the internet. So I can't keep open the Substack and the StreamYard at the same time. So reply to the email. I'll get to it. Drop it down in the notes. All right. You can also email Tom at 24site.news. You find me there, and head on over to the website. Guys, I've mentioned this a lot. I'm just going to keep on saying it because it's important. Where we are in this country right now is free speech is under attack by the government. That's just the way it is. I wish that were not the case. My entire life is built around the First Amendment. I love it. I hold it dear, especially because if you know what happens in other parts of the world, you know that this is rare and beautiful, what we have, and we have to defend it and exercise it. And this is what Charlie Sykes was saying recently on the show. It's not just something that we have, something that we do. All right. So I do independent journalism here because it's important, because it is my effort to help as a public service. All right. And I need your help, guys, to do this. All right. And as an independent journalist, I don't have major sponsors. I don't have billionaires backing me right now. If you can, sign up for a paid subscription at 24site.news. Okay, it's $5 a month. All right, that helps me get the word out. It helps me bring on people who are not shit posters. All right, it helps me bring on people like Alexandra Hudson. All right, people who are helping to repair things right now. I mean, look, as a reporter, as a journalist, I'm not going to shy away from things. The White House, the president attacking us, that's what they're doing. I'm going to say that. But I'm also going to bring on folks who are not screaming with their hair on fire. I'm going to bring on thoughtful folks like Alexandra. All right. That's why I do this, to help. And I need your help to do it. I want to say a big thanks to our sponsors who have been helping. Thank you, guys. Beth Solomon, the author from Fire to Fabulous. She worked in the C-suite. She used to work as a speechwriter for the old Georgia Senator Sam Nunn many years ago. And she wrote this book, From Fire to Fabulous, last year. before all the Doge firings and I guess potentially future firings we might be seeing per the White House if there is a government shutdown. And it's a great book. It's From Fire to Fabulous. It is all about how to pick yourself up off your feet, how to dust off and move. Whether that's getting back into a regular 9-to-5 job, building your own thing, what have you. She has done it all. She has some very good practical advice. It's a handbook. All right. It's very useful. Also want to give a big shout out to Project Manage My Move. It's my boy, Manoj. All right. Check it out. ProjectManageMyMove.com. We were talking about this a couple months ago. And he works in the real estate industry. I don't know I never knew before this, I should say, what a distressed sale is. A distressed sale is if there's been a death or divorce or something else unexpected come up where you have to sell the house fast. You put it up on the market and sometimes you don't get all the money that it's really worth. All right. Because look, you got a lot going on. You got a lot going on in your personal life. All right. That needs to be taken care of. All right. Sometimes you just can't spend the money that's needed to really fix things up. This is where, get the money that you need out of, for most people, their biggest financial asset. This is where Manoj comes in with ProjectManageMyMove.com. So Manoj will go around and coordinate the contractors to do some very basic stuff for whatever house, your house, a departed loved one's house, whoever, whatever it is. Manoj will coordinate even stuff as simple as painting. All right. And by improving the look of the house, all right, just doing some very basic improvements, you can get tens of thousands of dollars more on that home sale. So check out ProjectManageMyMove.com. Big thanks to Beth and Manoj for supporting independent journalism. And again, friends, head on over to 24site.news. I need your help to do this. All right. It's $5 a month. If you want to buy an annual subscription, it is $50 a month. And that makes sure that we keep getting the news, that we don't have to sugarcoat anything. And also repair things. All right. Bring on thoughtful folks. I don't do rage bait. I don't do clickbait. I don't do any of that stuff because what I hear from my friends and neighbors, and I suspect you as well, is exhaustion. That's why I do it this way. All right, guys. So thank you again for being here. Tune in again tomorrow, noon, and check out if you showed up late today, if you've missed any of this, you want to catch the whole thing again, tune in to Political Voices Network, where we air every night at 8 p.m. I'm Thom LoBianco. Thanks, folks.